Hey there, are you a high school sophomore, junior, or senior and you really struggle with test day jitters or even test anxiety? Well, if that's the case, you have come to the right video. My name is Kristina of Ivy Lunch Test Prep. For the last 15 years, I've helped high schoolers all over the globe dramatically raise their SAT and ACT test scores and ultimately land spots at their dream colleges. So, if you were in the middle of studying for the SAT or the ACT, you already have a lot on your plate, am I right? First, you're figuring out content. You are learning all the things to fill in the knowledge gaps that you need to know, whether those are math rules, grammar rules, how to figure out the function of the underlying sentence, etc. You're also learning a bunch of strategies for taking your desired test, SAT or ACT. So maybe you're learning like a guessing strategy or how to shave time off the science section of the ACT, or maybe you're trying to figure out how to answer sentence completions accurately and quickly. However, here's the thing. Content and strategy will get you very, very, very far, but we are missing a third component that is going to get you all the way where you need to be with your scores. So, what is this third piece of which I speak? Well, this third category is the psychological aspect of test taking, right? So, in other words, test anxiety, test day jitters, nerves, performance on test day. And you're also absolutely not a weirdo if you find yourself struggling with this. It's actually very, very common. So, unfortunately, a lot of other videos you might look at, a lot of other maybe test prep companies or tutors, they might just do what I call like the brute force method of test prep, where it's like, here, more practice tests, more practice problems, right? And just like drill, drill, drill. But I find with my students that you really need to address the headspace that a student or a test taker is in. Otherwise, they're going to not be able to display all of those amazing bits of knowledge and content and strategy that they have learned when it counts the most. So, no matter how much knowledge is crammed into that beautiful little brain of yours, if you're one of the many students who is affected by like test day nerves, test anxiety, test day jitters, then you know firsthand how all of this new material that you did drill and yesterday you like got all of it right, it seems to evaporate the moment you start answering question number one on test day. So I see this all the time, and it can actually look like many different things and take many different forms. Like maybe you're a junior or a senior and you're feeling so much pressure from this whole like college application, standardized testing mania, right? That you overanalyze yourself to death during a test. Maybe you're a super bright student, but when you're answering a tricky question, you second guess and third guess yourself so many times that you end up changing your correct answer from the correct answer to an incorrect answer. Has that ever happened to you? Or maybe you're a student who is so exhausted and you've like used up all of your decision making capacities and mental resources during the test that you're beat and you can't even finish the section at hand. And this is particularly a nasty one if you are a student who just considers yourself like bad at math, which hint, no one's actually bad at math. So, if any one of these sounds like you, then this is going to help you so much as this strategy that I'm about to show you. So, before I go into this very special strategy, I have a question for you, and that is, did any of the scenarios that I mentioned apply to you? I want to know who you are and what you're dealing with. So if so, write it in the comments below. I want to know. And while you're at it, just hit those like and subscribe buttons. And then that way, every week when I post the latest video in SAT, ACT, college application essay, tips, tricks, hacks, updates, you'll be the very first to know. Okay, so you are about to learn one of my favorite little test anxiety buster strategies, and I lovingly call it Page-Turn Zen. So you probably agree that if you are going to get amazing scores on the SAT or on the ACT and do the performance of your dreams, you probably need to calm down, right? You need to focus. Now, I have actually put up a couple other videos about certain test anxiety performance techniques that you might really like. So I am going to link to those in the show notes, but I definitely did a video about making, quote, 3 points of contact. I did another video about my frameworks method. And all of those are really amazing. So this is another one that I'm really excited to add to this series, if you will. So this strategy, Page-Turn Zen, it involves learning to simply be present in the moment, in your body. Okay. So I'm going to first tell you how to do it. I'm going to then give you modifications for when to do it, depending on which test you're doing. Like if you're doing the digital SAT versus the enhanced ACT on a computer as opposed to paper and pencil. Then I'm going to talk about why it works. And then I'm going to talk about how to practice it for best results. So Page-Turn Zen, the real simple instructions. Okay, number one, every time you reach the beginning of a section of the test or a module of the text, or if you are doing the paper and pencil version of the ACT and you're literally turning the page, that's where I came up with this Page-Turn Zen name in the first place, you are going to pause. Step two, you are going to close your eyes. Like actually you're closing your eyes. Like, trust me, the other people are not looking at you. They're looking at their own tests. Okay. Number three, you are going to take 3 deep breaths. And finally, number four, the entire time that you're taking these 3 deep breaths, you're going to just notice where you feel the breath in your physical body. Okay, super easy instructions. So beginning of a section or module or on a page turn, or I'll explain the modifications in a moment, you're going to pause. You're going to then close your eyes. You're going to take 3 deep breaths. And while you're doing those 3 deep breaths, you're going to notice where in your body you feel those deep breaths. So let's talk modifications for this, because if you're doing the digital SAT or you're doing the enhanced ACT on your laptop, you don't have pages to turn. Am I right? So this is how I would structure the timing of when to do Page-Turn Zen in those circumstances. So let's say you're doing the ACT and it is on your laptop or on your computer. So you're going to do Page-Turn Zen at the beginning of each section. Then what you're going to do is for things with passages. So think the English section, the reading section, the science section. If you chose to do the optional science section, you would do Page-Turn Zen before each passage for those. Then for math, you'll do it every 10th problem. So you would do Page-Turn Zen before you start. You would do Page-Turn Zen when you get to question number 10, question number 20, question number 30, question number 40. So does that make sense? So that's for the ACT on the computer. Obviously, ACT on paper and pencil, you do Page-Turn Zen whenever you're actually flipping the page, okay? Now let's talk digital SAT. When would you do Page-Turn Zen? So you would do this at the beginning of each module, right? So you've got 2 reading, writing modules, you've got 2 math modules. But when else are you doing it? Because we don't have passages on the digital SAT. Every question is discrete, right? So here's what I say is probably the best way to go about this. So for the reading and writing modules, each of those have 27 questions. I would say on multiples of 6. So the 6th, the 12th question before the 18th and before the 24th questions. And you could do the same with the math, just keep it easy, right? So before the 6th question, the 12th and the 18th, and then you're done at question 22. So you'd only do it 3 times in those math modules. So does that make sense of when we are going to do this? So now we're going to talk about why this method has worked over the past 15 years for so many of my students to help them calm down, stay present, and actually display all that expertise that they know but need to perform on test day. So the first thing is by doing Page-Turn Zen before each section or each module, you are starting each section of your test with a clear mind. So it's a great practice to begin each section by actively centering yourself just for a few moments, right? So sometimes, often during a math section, one of my students might start to tense up because, the problems do tend to get increasingly difficult as you move on through the ACT math section or through the SAT math modules. And that's really understandable, right? So there's nothing like that very first problem that you can't quite solve, or you're like, oh, did I learn that? To kind of throw your confidence for a loop. So that's why you are going to stop when I mentioned, so like every 10th question for the ACT's math or every 6th question for the SAT's math, and you're going to stop that mounting negative energy and return to the reality at those given intervals. Cool? So next, by actually closing your eyes, you are remembering that no one else in this exam room right now matters. You are the master of your domain. You are the master in your trusty red and brown sweatshirt that you are wearing that is your comfy test day clothes. For those 10 seconds or maybe 10 to 12 seconds that it takes you to do Page-Turn Zen, not even the next test question that's staring at you in the face can look back and hurt you, right? Because your eyes are closed. You're not thinking about it. You literally just get to detach for those 10 to 12 seconds. Now, taking 3 deep breaths is about the time it takes an average person to relax for 10 to 12 seconds. Now, if you feel nervous that these 3 breaths are going to take like way too long, then this is what you're going to do. So you're not like overanalyzing the trick I'm trying to tell you, so you stop overanalyzing. So sometime way before test day, you're going to pull out your phone. You're going to pull out, like on an iPhone, it's real easy. You take out the clock function and there's literally a stopwatch app. And you literally, you click it and then it starts counting up. And then you press it again to end it. And you can actually see how long taking 3 deep breaths actually takes you. Okay. So you are not going to be using up a substantial amount of time. But if you're worried, time yourself before test day. See how long it does take you to do those 3 breaths. I promise you it's around 10 to 12 seconds. So you do need to take slow breaths because you want your heart rate, your heart's probably beating out of your chest when you're nervous on test day. You want your heart rate to start to come down a bit. Okay. So we need to take deep breaths to get the oxygen into all cells of our body, including, those brain cells. Finally, the reason why this little trick works, even though it's just so easy, right, is as you take your 3 breaths, you're going to focus on the physical sensations that you feel in your body. So for instance, do you feel a tickle at the end of your nose as you inhale or exhale? Do you feel the back of your rib cage expand as you're taking in the oxygen and your lungs expand? You are going to try to really feel the physical sensations as they occur. So you're going to be curious. You're going to be a neutral observer of your own body for those, 10 to 12 seconds. No sensation is like right or wrong, nor is there any larger meaning to any of it. You're just going to notice, okay? By doing this, you're going to be out of your head. Your heart rate will have hopefully calmed down, and you will feel much more calm, and you will feel much more present. You will also probably be able to return to your present moment, nip over analysis in the bud, and allow yourself and your body to get to your natural state again, which is your prepared, intelligent, efficient state of mind. So this is why Page-Turn Zen works. So now for best results, let's talk about how to practice this so it's second nature. You should practice this method as soon as you can in every situation that presents itself. Fortunately, since you're in high school, there are many different situations that are going to present themselves, right? So are you diving into your chemistry homework? Awesome. Stop and do Page-Turn Zen as you're like reading a page in your textbook and you're flipping the page to read the next page. Are you doing SAT or ACT prep work for yourself or for a class or for your tutor? Awesome. Before you start, do Page-Turn Zen. Practice it then. Are you facing a killer physics problem set? Great. You're going to practice Page-Turn Zen before you start it and when you're doing your page turns. Soon, this practice will be so ingrained, it's just like the natural thing you do before you're about to do something high stakes, or when you're in the middle of something high stakes, like an assignment or a test or a quiz. And once it gets to that place where it's second nature to you, that's when you end up increasing your score by like leaps and bounds because you're finally calm enough that you can utilize all that knowledge that you have been collecting in that pretty brain of yours. So I really hope that you actually try this trick out and see how much can help your scores climb. Trust me, Page-Turn Zen has helped so many of my students for a decade and a half, like legit 15 years, and I want it to help you too. Now, if you would like more test anxiety tips like this, or just more tailored help for any aspect of the SAT or ACT, then there are a couple ways that we could work together. One is we could work together one-on-one. So you could find me at my website, ivyloungetestprep.com. You can inquire if I still have some availability for some one-on-one work, and you can see how I work with my Ace the Test game plan and packages, and we could see if that is a fit. If that is not for you or in the budget, or you're more of a lone wolf and you want to do test prep on your own, I also have something that I think you will really, really like. I have an online course that is perfect for you, and it's called Unlock SAT and ACT Testing Confidence. So this is a totally digital, totally self-directed video and PDF class that will help you slay the dragon of test anxiety so that you can actually perform your best on test day. So I walk you through over a dozen tricks and strategies that will keep you calm and testing on. So check it out in the link below.